Hello, D-Scoopers. Welcome to a very special episode of Unvarnished. I am your co-host, Darren Painter. I am D-Scoop storyteller, here with my colleague, the quite taller, thinner Christopher Hyde. Chris, say hi to the camera.
Hi, camera.
Today we have a really cool episode for you. It's very hard to find a person in the print industry who is more front and center than our guest to the left, Eric Vessels. Eric is president and CEO of WhatTheyThink. He's the driver of the content, the development, and the growth of awesome website, WhatTheyThink.com, where there's exciting times. WhatTheyThink keeps advancing. It is now a print publisher. It is now a film house. They have a wider variety of content than ever. But who is this man behind the beard? We are going to turn the tables on Eric. Eric is used to interviewing other people, but now we have him on the blue chair. Eric, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
So first of all, I can't get out of my brain that this is called Unvarnished, and the host is Painter.
Yes.
It's
Yes, I am
planned or unplanned?
Unplanned. Unplanned, unscripted, just like that. Just like the purpose of this whole thing.
I love it.
No, he came up with the name. He's like, you know what? I want to not prepare for anything. I want to never ask. I would never write a question before a guest comes on, and it's great. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Those are not written.
No, there's nothing on these cards.
They're printed.
So much is going on with WhatTheyThink.com. We'll get into that later, but I want to ask Eric a couple of pre-WhatTheyThink.com questions first.
Cool.
I found it really cool and interesting that before 2002, when you joined WhatTheyThink, well before, you were at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point.
Unfortunately.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What have you taken away from that?
I think so. I was going to, so I was on a 2-man debate team in high school. And what I really wanted to do was go to college, debate, win a debate national championship, get a law degree, and litigate. But that didn't happen. My mom, actually, it's a pretty funny story. My mom, very wise woman, knew all the buttons to press with me. And we were at dinner one night talking about, Colonel so-and-so's son is applying to West Point. I said, that's great. I have a scholarship to the University of Louisville to debate. I had that junior year. And she's like, yeah, you probably wouldn't get accepted.
Ooh.
And I was like, screw you.
Yeah.
So I wasn't even going to apply. So I applied thinking that I wouldn't. And then, you're right, Mom, I didn't get in. I'll go do my debate and I got accepted. So then I was like, shit, now what? Like, it's such a rare thing.
Right.
So I went a year, made it through plebe year. About halfway through my second year, I was just like, I mean, you guys know me enough. Like, military?
Yeah.
No, not for me. Too much of a free spirit.
That's why I find it interesting. Yeah.
So I checked out, but what I took from it, wonderful experience. Wouldn't trade it. Sure. I would have made the same decision over and over again. And what I learned is that I'm capable of about 1.5 times what I think I am.
Nice. I like that.
And it was a wonderful lesson.
1.5x in the life.
100%. Like, where you think your limits are, if you apply yourself, work hard, and just put your head down and commit, because plebe year is tough to survive. It's tough. It's like a whole nother level of crazy, right? Luckily for me, my sense of humor kind of got me through it. So you can go in your dorm room and just like, that was crazy. Just kind of laugh it off. Because if you internalize it and take it seriously, you'll go nuts. Yeah. And there were classmates of mine that legit went nuts. I'm talking opening up a 3rd-story window and jumping out of it.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Not dying, luckily, but just like...
It's a lot.
Overcome with like, the stress and everything. You just kind of break. So that was the lesson from West Point, is just like, you're capable of a lot.
Yeah.
And that's a good internalized lesson to learn when things get hard or when something seems insurmountable. You kind of can go back to that resource. This is good training for me.
Push through.
Yeah. Good leadership training too for me.
So a little bit fast forward from there. How old is a young Eric Vessels when he puts on a Kinko's uniform and smells print for the first time?
Man, you know what? Yeah, I was definitely a Kinkoid. So when I left, I regained my Louisville scholarship, right? So I went and got back on the debate team.
Gotcha.
Ended up being disjointed, but the job that I got there was regular old job at Kinko's University of Louisville campus. It's actually where I met Randy Davidson,
Oh, wow. Okay.
who would be the founder of WhatTheyThink.
Interesting.
We became roommates, best friends
Really?
in college. So I guess I would have had to have been 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
When that happened.
Did you really meet Muhammad Ali there?
I did.
Tell us about that.
So it's probably one of the most. So I've written an essay about it, and it's. I'm coming close to doing justice. I fashion myself as a bit of a writer. I write a lot of poetry. I really try to capture moments in writing, and I've almost got there with it. It's one of those things where I'm also a perfectionist, so I keep reading it, and I'm like, that's not exactly right. But the story was basically I was working by myself, campus of the University of Louisville. I'm from just south of Louisville kid, right? So growing up, Muhammad Ali was one of my heroes. Hunter Thompson was one of my heroes, both Louisville kids. And so I have this Xerox, I think Docutech maybe, and this Kodak machine, and I'm running both of them. I'm the only employee in the store. Got my back turned to the door, and I hear the door open. But more than that, if you've ever experienced feeling a presence, I felt like a presence. Like it was more than just hearing the door. Like I felt something shift. And it was like interesting. I was like, whoa, somebody just walked in, right? Felt it, physically felt it. But I was really busy, So the next thing I hear is like this mumbling, and it was like,
So it was Chris?
no.
Oh.
It could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I'm like, what in the hell is that noise? Like, what the heck, And so I keep working or whatever. And then it's louder. So I turn around, and it's the first time in my life that I've ever been legit starstruck.
Right.
I'm talking, I forgot, you're going to laugh and not believe me, but I forgot how to walk.
Right.
I legit forgot the function
Just
of what it was to
frozen.
put one step in front of the other and walk and move. I was froze.
Crazy.
I was like, it's Muhammad Ali. Sorry.
No problem.
It's Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
In my store.
That's wild.
What is happening?
Yeah.
It was like the universe is like stopped all of a sudden. So I'm like, okay, well, I got to help him. Like I'm working, I guess, right? So I go up, and so I always say in my essay, I say it sounded like someone had taken someone hostage and put their mouth over their mouth. That's what it sounded like when I had my back turned.
Amazing.
So I go up to the front counter, and, it's obviously a Parkinson's riddled Ali at this point in his stage in his life. And he's there with like some other individual. In my brain, it was like his nephew.
Mm-hmm.
He had this beat up brown leather suitcase, and I always imagined him with like stainless steel, or gold briefcase.
Yeah.
So he pulls out this 4-page single-sided document and hands it to me, And so I'm like, you want copies? I immediately think to myself, he's in Kinko's, you idiot. Of course he wants copies.
Right.
So I was like, how many? I finally figured out he wants 100, stapled upper left. Got it, right. I turn around. Immediately kick this job off of the Docutech. I'm like, this is a meaningless job at this point. It's for Humana or something. Like, we don't care about that. Put it on there, go 100, stapled upper left side. So then I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to turn and he's not going to be there. Like, this has to be imaginary, right? Like,
right.
I'm like, no, he's there, shit. So copies come off. So I'm like, what could he be copying, right? And so I grab a copy and I act like I'm proofing it. Like, right, that's the old trick at Kinko's. If you ever want to read anything, you just act like you're proofing it and doing your job, and you keep a copy if it's interesting. I've got like Alanis Morissette's like road guide thing that someone copied. That was much later. So it's this manifesto. It's a 4-page manifesto typewritten, and it's basically, it starts off the real cause of man's distress, and it literally is this manifesto of how to live, and it talks about God and faith and all this stuff, and I'm just like, whoa, what the heck?
That's wild.
So I wrap it up, I get his 100, I go up there, I'm just like, do you mind me asking what this is? What is this or whatever? And so through our broken conversation, because it's really difficult, because he was having a hard time communicating, I was having a hard time understanding, but what I came to understand is like he carried these around in his briefcase. If someone would ask him for an autograph, he didn't like to sign like a napkin or a piece of paper or whatever. He'd pull this out and sign it for them, such that they would read it and get something out of it.
Right.
So he signed one for me, 1991.
Wow.
And I have it framed in my office.
Wow. Interesting. And
One
I
of
know
my
what
most
you,
prized possessions.
I know what you mean about having written about it. Maybe it's just abandoned and you'll come back to it and abandon it again and come back to it and try to make sense of all this. Right?
Well, I also keep finding like I didn't tell it exactly right? Like I didn't. How do you communicate something like that?
Right.
Like how would you write down the feeling that you had when your child was born?
Right.
Or those moments are hard, and poets and good writers are able to do it.
The time is a nice reflector.
For sure. But that was meeting Muhammad Ali.
Very
awesome.
cool story. Very cool
Yeah.
story. All right. There's no great segue from Muhammad Ali to What They Think. Can you think of one?
No.
Okay. So we're just going to jump
The
right
greatest
in.
of all time? Are you kidding me? Like there's no segue there, bro. Like come on.
The Thriller in Manila folder. Yeah.
I like that one better. I like that one better.
But let's talk about What They Think.
Yeah,
A fascinating website.
Yeah.
High respect as media people for what you do every day. I love it because it is very difficult to be both wide and deep.
It is.
Right? Like to have a lot of layers that people can click on. If you go to the top of whattheythink.com, I'm sure most of you have, there are 15 links, right? Everything from data to podcast, to everything else. But if you dive deep into what those are, there's a lot there.
There is.
How in the world have you been able to pull that off? And what is the North Star for you now for What They Think?
So we'll start with the North Star. I think the North Star, and I think it's really important to say, like I end up being the face, and that always happens, I think. But I mean, any good leader, and I don't consider myself a good leader, but I will say it's not me. It's maybe not me at all. Like maybe, 5-10% of it is me really, but there's so many other people behind the scenes, such a big team. And if you meet them, you'll get the same feeling that the North Star is we want What They Think to be the place you go to find out what's happening in the industry. That's the North Star. Like
Right.
We want to be the only answer to that question in your mind, or if not the only, the first, right? That's the North Star. So what I will say about wide and deep and how we're able to pull it off, it's obviously a lot of people. Our model in the beginning was to put our arms around the biggest thought leaders, like go out there and look for people who are already thinking, writing, saying, had a voice, and we put our arms around them, right? So the model was kind of allowing a freelancer to be a freelancer, like, oh, you're doing your consulting and you're an expert on that, do that thing and talk about it here.
Got it.
But one of the things about wide and deep that I think is important, and I've said this for a long time, Bill Gates wrote or said in a book that was written in 1995 that content is king, right? And everybody's known that phrase for a long time. And at some point in the What They Think journey, I added to it consistency is queen, right? Because it's an important qualifier. Because you can write the best, and this came out of like my blogging days. What I realized is like you can write the best blog post of all time, but if you don't write another one next week or tomorrow or that day, you don't get the traction that you could. Right?
Yeah.
And so what I've considered What They Think, and I tell this to my team and to outside people, the content game is a treadmill that doesn't have an off switch. Once you decide you're in that game, it's on and it's on forever.
Yeah.
So you
that.
build
That's fantastic.
you build systems, right? You build systems and workflow to make that machine of content run, right? Because if you don't, you can't do it.
Yeah.
Right. So people will say, oh man, I read on What They Think this thing. And I'm like, you did?
Yeah.
Right. Like, 'cause the machine is so big, it's hard for me to keep track of a lot of times. But I know it's there. I know it's working. I know it's happening.
Yeah.
So it's this accessible thing. So for me, it was like we built a machine, a content machine.
Yeah.
And it's a treadmill that doesn't turn off.
What do you like about it, Chris?
Neutrality.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's hard to stay neutral.
Yeah.
Extremely difficult to stay neutral. And I'll be honest, we haven't always nailed it, to be honest, because I mean, you got to understand there's a lot of pressure, right? Like at the end of the day, you can't just publish a lot of content and not make money.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to consider the funding of that. But what we've been good at doing, and I'm glad that you said that, I appreciate that you said that, because it seemed it seemed easier in the early days to do that, right? Because the financial pressures weren't there. The team wasn't as big. The revenue wasn't as important. We just needed to eat,
Right.
But I think the way that you do it, it's kind of a church and state thing. And what we explain to people is like, look, there's like earned media and there's paid media, and you have to do a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But if we can segregate out, like, and what we've always tried to do is say, this was sponsored by this person. So you know the context in which you're consuming the content, right? And if it doesn't say it's sponsored, then it's not. And if it doesn't say it's sponsored and it is, that's a big problem. And if we do that, I'll be the first to write an apology or shut it down, because you can't live in that world. As a consumer of the information, you've got to recognize that neutrality. And we've built our reputation on that because we allow voices. Now, where you get in trouble is when you have someone, I don't mean to call him out, dear old friend, Andy Tribute, write a piece back in the day that was just like slamming something, or somebody had a very strong opinion about it. I would get a phone call, right? Because it's about a vendor and maybe they've got some advertising or maybe they've done some business. You know, what the hell?
Yeah.
What I would always say is just like, if I don't allow that voice, I don't have this platform.
Okay. Right.
And this platform is what you value because you've spent money with us.
Right.
So it's a church state thing.
That,
it's a constant balance. That, if anything, in my role, I think is the most important thing, is like, that's my job.
Got you.
To always monitor that.
The king and the queen are sitting well on the throne right now. It seems like things are going really well for you. It also seems like you hate the status quo. Like, you couldn't stand the idea of what they think being the same 2 years from now, say, as it is now.
No.
And I was mesmerized by What They Think films, sort of the concept.
Yeah.
Take us through that decision.
So that was probably for about 10 years now, I've been like, wouldn't it be cool if we did like full on documentaries of printers? Like, just tell their whole story, like a documentary film. Like, I mean, this is kind of like pre-Netflix blowing up or whatever. Right. And it was always one of those, we have kind of what we don't even call them, but it's like skunk works, right? We've got all these ideas brewing in the background. And it was just brewing and brewing and brewing. And as we did more video over the years, so we were the first to show up with a video camera at On Demand Show in 2007. Right? YouTube hadn't really even blown up that much. In fact, we didn't have, our player was all custom Flash that we developed, Flash player. Now it's just easy to just load it on YouTube and embed code and all that. Mm-hmm. We were coding all that stuff back in the day. But we've published over 5,000 video on What They Think.
That's unbelievable.
We average 1.3 video a day. That's the content
including
machine.
Sunday. When and Saturday.
Saturday,
and
Sunday.
Holiday, Arbor Day.
No, not those days. Monday through Friday.
Definitely on April Fool's Day.
Hey, listen, we've been tempted. If April Fool's is on a Saturday, by God, we're going to publish a newsletter on Saturday. But no, we don't. Monday through Friday, business days. But as we've published those amount of videos, we started to get more and more competency with it. So we ventured out. We got a couple of different sponsors because it's more expensive to do that type of thing, right? Because I can't just show up at a show like D-Scoop and shoot 80 video,
right?
Like we would do back in the day, or show up at Drupa and shoot 200. All the other shows. That's what we used to do. We'd show up, we'd bank a bunch of video, and then we'd dribble them out. So that's not as expensive, right? Because we're all in the same place. There's no incremental cost to that. There's an incremental cost to going to Portland, Oregon, and spending 2 days and filming and then editing all that. But luckily, we've gotten some sponsors to buy in. HP's been a big supporter of that. We did one with SwissQ Print, e-productivity software. I think we've got some others that are booked. But the idea there is to tell those longer form stories of those printers that really inspire and motivate, and we're hoping to do more. And that's what They Think Films is about. And the reason that we wanted to segregate it is like your standard video of like, hey, this is Bob from so and so company, and here's what we're doing at D-Scoop, and those have value, but the shelf life is pretty small.
Right.
These longer stories, the shelf life is much longer.
I love them.
Like you can go and look at all of those that we've done, and you'll be able to look at those in like a year or two, and they'll still be cool.
Yeah, because
they're movies.
Yeah. Seemed like a cool move to acquire Printing News. Take me through that decision.
Oh well, we didn't print nothing, man.
Yeah,
man. We used to. You know how much I took a lot of hell for
talking about the industry day in, day out, and not having anything coming off of a press.
2 or 3 years, we didn't have business cards.
Right.
It says, Eric, What They Think. Just shoot me an email, man. Like we were digital natives, or like cooler than cool, right?
Right.
Finally, we kind of figured out. But we always wanted, in all seriousness, we always wanted to explore being a digital native and how we could transition that to a printed publication and how those two things could play together. Mm-hmm. And we're still in that sandbox, right? Yeah. I don't know that we have the answer, but we're still playing.
Right.
One thing, if you've noticed about What They Think, is we're very iterative. Like it's ready, fire, aim, right?
Right.
Aim, fire, aim, fire, aim, fire.
Yeah.
That's how we roll. So right now, it was great. In 2018, we acquired Printing News. That gave us a printed magazine, still in play. We've decided that right-sizing it was about 6 times a year right?
That's a hard thing to
It's tough to
figure
be
out.
monthly. That went away. Then they went 10 times. So what's the sweet spot for us is really 6, right?
Cool.
Because that gives us a good calendar. It gives us a good opportunity to dive deeper into some stuff. And then the digital side is that more churn to
Yeah.
it. Like it's more lower shelf life, right?
Right.
So the higher value stuff, we really wanted to put thought leadership into the magazine and play those two back and forth.
Gotcha.
And so it's been good. That goes out to like 33,000 printers.
That's
So,
excellent. Yeah.
super stuff.
One of the things I like to best about what they think in the concept, you mentioned before the number of voices that are part of it. It's not just Eric Vessels pumping out stuff on a blog, which
Not at all.
you would be good at, right?
I mean, I
But
actually
there's-
don't know that much about the industry, to be honest.
Like
Like I'm just a casual observer here, just sort of organizing a system to get the
But
information.
you have in the same way that I might appreciate, say, the Ringer podcast network for sports, because
yeah.
they're bringing in all these disparate perspectives
network.
in this one kind of umbrella.
Yeah.
You've managed to do the same, really, with thought leaders of all kinds.
For sure.
Can you share just a little bit about the intentionality of doing that?
Yeah. So it was, like I said, it was very intentional for us to get thought leaders involved, allow a platform for them to say what needed to be said, right? And that it goes back to Chris's like neutrality thing. It's just like we've always told our writers, we've never had a written assignment necessarily in terms of like write a piece that says this. It's more a topic
Interesting.
of like for instance, a great example that's new for us is how we're covering digital embellishments, right? Befriended Kevin Abergel, right? Came from MGI, started Tactful. He's really focused on that digital embellishment space. So we're like, hey, write about it, right? But we don't tell him, hey, write an article that says digital embellishment is gonna do blah, 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 and this with this machine and that with the, no, just write. Like talk about what's happening in the industry. You're an expert.
Yeah.
And allowing that platform now, like he's become more known. We're seen as like somebody that is covering that space really well. Same thing happened when we had Trish Witkowski writing a lot about finishing.
Mhm.
Same thing, Richard, wide format. David Zwang, labels and packaging, does some workflow stuff. Pat McGrew, workflow stuff.
Mhm.
So you start with the expertise instead of starting with the topic,
Gotcha.
right?
Yeah.
And you're just like, do your thing.
I like that.
And the topics get filled. But then there's sometimes when it's just like, hey, we got a gap. Let's go find Ralph Schlosser, right? He's writing a lot about the European market, a lot of data about the European market. So it's very intentional for us to work with people. It's an advantage to work with freelancers because it frees them.
Yeah.
And that freedom for us develops better content over time. Now, it's a challenge, right? Because they're not employees.
Organizing.
So
Yeah.
you can,
Communicating.
at some point, you can't tell them what to do.
No.
Like you
Right.
don't own them, so it's got to be a symbiotic relationship. But we're pretty good at relationships.
Chris and I write on bathroom stalls a lot. If you're looking for another category of thing to include,
You just take.
I draw. I don't.
Chris draws on bathroom
You
stalls.
can-
I like
so
to.
just take
I
a
like
photo-
to provide captions.
So just take a quick photo of that and send it to me. Yeah, we might.
Yes, taking photos in the bathroom
We
is
may-
one of the things that we do well.
Yeah, we may find a use for it. You never know.
All right, we're gonna play a game,
There's
Chris.
April Fools.
Are you
I
ready
love,
to play a
I
game?
love games.
Chris, this is right up Chris's alley.
All
We're gonna
right.
play lightning round with
Oh,
Eric Vessels.
Let's go.
Lightning round
Lightning
with Eric
round.
Vessels. Okay, so we're gonna we can go back and forth. We're gonna give you the topic.
All right.
All I want you to do is say what comes to your mind
Yep.
and why you either appreciate it or don't.
Okay.
And a little bit, maybe like just 30 seconds about each one.
Okay.
Okay.
cool.
Ready? You want to start?
Oh, I have to use yours?
Yeah. You don't have to use mine, but you can. These are well thought of at least 5 minutes before we got here.
Go ahead. You start.
Okay. I'm going to start. You have a hard rock band.
I do. Yeah, I'm singer in the hard rock band, a band called Dirt.
Dirt?
So, yeah, a band called Dirt. DIRT.
Is the whole thing a band called Dirt?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
DIRT stands for Distributed Internet Rock and Roll Transfer. And the reason that it's named that is because none of us live in the same location. So my brother's in LA, my cousin is in Nashville. So we record tracks, upload it to Dropbox and mix it and create an album. We put an album out in 2021.
That is awesome.
There's an album out on iTunes Music.
Do you
That
have
goes
a
back
favorite track on the album?
Harsh, the title tracks.
Harsh.
Probably my
Harsh
favorite.
on a band called Dirt.
Yeah.
All right. Everyone go listen.
Go listen. Super.
You up next?
You probably won't like it, but that's fine.
Favorite beard product?
Favorite beard product?
Beard?
Beard.
Beard product.
Man, so I'm not a product guy. That's great, but I do like beer oil and waxes. I get them from Germany a lot of times, but I don't necessarily know what the products are. Like I just pick up something from a pomade shop, bring it home, and when this gets too dry, I do the comb thing. But I'm not like I like X product.
Got you. A good bourbon.
Oh, a good bourbon? Not my favorite, just a good one, accessible one.
Whatever you want.
That
However
you
you
get-
want to take this.
Oh, man.
Bourbon conversation.
Yeah, Knob Creek with one single
Ooh.
ice
Big
cube.
ice cube.
No, small ice cube
Okay.
so that it can melt.
Okay.
Because Knob Creek's one that just really opens up. Obviously, I like all the high end stuff, the Pappies, the Blantons. I've
Gotcha.
got about 300 bottles
Oof.
somewhere in there.
You're a creative
And
dude.
I don't drink much. That's why I have 300
That's
bottles.
yeah. You're a creative dude.
Yeah.
Beatboxing.
I do. I've been. So I'm known to beatbox. So in the 80s, I love the Fat Boys. I don't know if anyone loved the Fat
Oh, we're
Boys.
good.
So I beatboxed back in the 80s. When there would be a house party, my debate partner was a really good rapper. So I would beatbox and he would rap, and that would be like the house party.
Nice.
So
I
it's
mean, everyone's
base-
congregating on that couch immediately, right? On that
Oh,
part.
well, we didn't have very many couches. I grew up in Kentucky, man. This was out in the field
Forgot.
somewhere.
You're in Louisville at
It was
this point.
literally out in the field
Oh,
somewhere.
the
Gotcha.
couches were in the front yard.
Where the old Chevy that we bondoed up was that.
Mm.
That's actually a good story. So I worked at a Sizzler.
Okay.
So I was a busboy, moved up to a cook. One of the things about that job was when we were juniors and seniors. Gosh, I hope they're not watching this. We took an old Chevy and bondoed the trunk and put a drain in it. We'd go buy cases of beer and then back it up to the Sizzler and use the ice machine. We'd almost
Oh, fantastic.
empty the ice machine and drive that out and
That's
pop
cold
open the
beer
trunk.
for how long? Like long
Out in the
time.
field.
Yes.
Who knows what happened.
All
But-
right.
so sorry, Sizzler in Radcliffe, Kentucky, for running out of ice all the time. What
Would you like to show us any of your old beatboxing skills right
Beatbox.
now? Oh, I like the end. Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Do you want
Wait, did you have a handle? What did they?
No.
What'd you call yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, what did they call me?
Did it
back
involve a
then?
hyphen? I love hyphens.
Vestman.
Okay.
Vestman.
Vestman.
From my last name, yeah.
Nice
they would call
work.
me Vestman. And that was my debate partner. Just started calling me Ves, V-E-S.
Yeah.
And then Vestman just sort of happened.
and,
But that went away kind of after high school. It was kind of weird.
and
West
his,
Point.
what was his name? Or
Daryl.
what was his?
I don't think he had a nickname. It was just Daryl. I don't
He was
believe
the rapper dude.
He was just
Best
the rapper.
man and Daryl.
And
I guess he's a
Daryl.
horrible-
Best man and
That
Daryl's
is
great.
horrible.
There's
Yeah.
an ampersand in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to ask one?
Nope.
Okay.
Anything?
Zen Buddhism.
Oh, yeah. Namaste. Yeah, so I'm practicing Zen Buddhist. I discovered that in college. Not to get too existential and deep, but kind of college was where I grew up Catholic, and that didn't quite hit for me so much. So in college, I just basically read everything, literally read the Bible, the Quran, all these Eastern texts.
Interesting.
Just read. And the only thing that I found that was just like, was like all of these Buddhist, mostly Zen texts, the old stories of the Zen master and the thing and the what. It struck I didn't understand any of it, of course, but it didn't matter. So when I met my ex-wife and we began to have kids, we're like, what are we doing? We started to gravitate towards sort of Buddhist ideology.
Right.
I found a teacher through playing the shakuhachi. I play a Japanese bamboo flute, which is called shakuhachi. And I attended a camp with my teacher, and my shakuhachi teacher was also the teacher of the guy who would become my future Zen teacher.
Oh, interesting.
Still is today.
Right.
Yeah. So we met, and it was one of those like, do I know you?
Interesting.
Have we met?
Yeah.
Are we brothers or
Right.
something? Like what's going like
Right.
that vibe
Right.
away. And so I just started going to Toledo. It's 2 hours away, unfortunately, but going more and more. I hit a rough patch in my life going through a divorce after 18 years. And that really sort of drove me more towards that. But that began kind of like a 4 or 5 year period of really deep healing that was grounded in Zen and in Buddhist thought and practice that I'm still sort of a journey I'm still on, obviously.
An interesting adult brain to be able to 1.5x everything, right, from the Army days and have this sort of mindfulness. That must be an interesting brain to occupy.
super interesting. But I'll tell you another interesting fact about my Zen practice in West Point and where they kind of converge in a really weird way.
Okay.
My current Zen teacher was going to the Zen Mountain Monastery to practice with his teacher, which is in Mount Trimper, New York, which is a few miles north of West Point. He was doing that from Boston to there while I was at West Point. Fast forward a whole bunch of years, we meet and realize that was happening at that time, unbeknownst to us.
Wow.
Right. So, and that my Dharma name actually means Zen Mountain.
Cool. Okay, I have two more.
Wow. Okay.
Two more in the lightning round.
Sorry, it's supposed to be lightning in here.
No.
I'm talking my.
No, man,
talking,
this is cool.
blah, blah.
Listen, we got the man behind what they think. We gotta ask him some questions.
Right
Right?
on.
We gotta learn about
Unvarnished.
that.
You get it.
Haiku.
Oh, I love haiku so much. Oh, love it. It may be the most pure form of writing. I think it's. I consider it what I call distilled dharma. Dharma is just like the essence, life, reality. Yeah, just I read them and I was just so struck with just like how could there be so much meaning in this few syllables?
Right.
17 syllables, right? Like 575. Like what's going on? I wrote really good haiku for all my kids' birth. There's 3 of them, and
That's cool.
That felt like a trap because when my first daughter was born, she's 24 now. I wrote a haiku and it was great and whatever. And then we had a second kid and I'm like, shit, I gotta do that again.
Yeah.
Can I do that again?
Listen, if one kid has a haiku,
They all get, and then so I did it for Emma, my second child, and then Liam comes along like 10 years later. I'm like, oh damn, haiku, I gotta do that. But every single time, for some reason, I was able to translate my experience of them being born into a 3-line haiku, and it's really great. So
That's
I run a part of what I do with my Zen practice is I run an affinity group that's a haiku writers group. So we have a weekly challenge. There's this thing called a kigo, which is a season word. So in classical Japanese haiku, you work off of a kigo. There's always like a season word in it, like winter or cold or rabbit, and they always reflect the time of year. And you build your haiku around that.
Is this group
Super
in
fun.
Delaware, Ohio?
It's all over. It's kind of virtual, but it's mostly around Toledo.
Okay.
Because it's based around the temple.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of a Facebook-led type
Gotcha.
group. So there's like 30-some people that are writing haiku all the time. But yeah, my first daughter, when she was born, is this lightning round?
It's lightning, but lightning.
This is now a thunderstorm.
Lightning
round?
goes in the
This
distance.
This is a thunderstorm.
You can still.
round.
It's like heat lightning.
This happened.
It's like heat lightning. You can see it in the distance. It takes a while.
So I love. This is a great haiku. Part of the haiku story is like my first daughter was born, and my ex-wife caught me watching a Steelers football game on the TV.
I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
Me too, huge,
All right,
big.
Let's go.
But I thought she was gonna kill me.
Sure.
So are you watching football? And she hadn't had the what's the thing?
Epidural?
She hadn't had an epidural yet, right? So when she got the epidural, she just chilled out and was just like, "Can you go let our dog Rick out?" I'm like, "Sure, I'll go." So I go let him out as I'm driving down the road. This beautiful rainbow, and it was just like, "Whoa!" It just blew me away. And so when it like Chloe was born, I wanted to like do something. When I decided to write the haiku, I wrote, it was about the rainbow.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Winter on its way, many colors in the sky. She is here. I smile.
Ooh, that's so much better than a Pittsburgh Steelers offensive haiku.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
It's awesome.
Right? So
That is so cool. Thanks for sharing that with us.
It's a wonderful
That's
practice.
awesome.
Yeah, it's a
All
great
right.
practice.
The heat lightning has dissipated. It's coming back in one
Right.
bolt.
We're doing this one
more.
word answer.
One more. I would be fired if I didn't ask. D-scoop.
D-scoop. Amazing. Like community. It's been one of my favorite events for a really, really long time. And what I've noticed is like it's just all community. And I think one of the things about what they think is people relate to it. One of the powers of that brand is like, I get what they think, right? I read the email, like I'm a part of this thing, right? It's kind of a community thing. Dr. Joe Webb told us a long time ago, he's like, you're not just media anymore. Like you're a community.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the feel that I get every time that I've come to D-Scoop. Every person that's in the organization of D-Scoop, that's running the community, everyone that I've worked with HP, it's just phenomenal. It's just like it's awesome. Like it's top event. It's something that I look forward to all the time. And it sometimes I've regretted in the past how busy we are to not relax and enjoy it a little more.
Yeah.
Because it seems like a blur to me every time, probably to you guys too.
Same.
Like,
Yeah.
whoa, what is this? But I also really relish that community aspect. And I think the thing about this industry that really does make it special, cliche as hell, but it's so true, are the people. It's that's just my business philosophy too. Like you do business with people. And if you don't realize that at some point, you probably won't be successful as you could be, because it's all about people. It's all about relationships. And D-Scoop builds a ton of relationships. I've seen it happen here. I've seen it happen every year that I've come here. I see it happen year over year, right? You're at a D-Scoop. Oh, I met you at this D-Scoop.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, do you realize that we didn't start working together until D-Scoop, 2010 or whatever?
Yeah.
Like it's a milestone and a marker in community and relationship building.
Well, we love our relationship with you.
Love it too.
We love the fact that you're part of the D-Scoop community.
Heck yeah.
And we've really loved talking with you today. Thank you for opening up. It was really fun chatting
No worries.
with you.
Yeah, it's stuff I don't normally talk about.
Awesome.
Glad to do it with
Thanks,
you guys.
Eric. Yep.
Appreciate it.